Islam Makhachev scores a fourth-round submission win over Thiago Moises. I saw some debate about to what extent it was like dominant in the sense that, did Moises get absolutely thrashed the whole time and just beaten up and was surviving for his life? We can have that conversation here in just a minute, BC. But the question I want to ask is this. How high should we be on Islam's stock as a future title contender based off of this performance?
How high? You got any rolling papers, Luke? That's how high we should get. Pretty damn high. Look, he's not Khabib. He's a little bit different, but there's a lot of Khabib systematic dominance built inside of Islam Makhachev that is just leaps through the screen. I mean, he is calculated and deadly, Luke, and he is poised beyond friggin' belief. You know, what I liked about this was that Moises did have some sort of potentially scary moments there, like when he took Makhachev's back in round 2, and, there's some like little transitions there where you're like, oh, let's see what Islam can do here. And the way he responds to the potential of adversity is seriously, Luke, there's like a next level poise in operation there. This is a guy that like belongs, knows he frickin' belongs, and is ready to put on the cape of what we talked about leading into this fight, which is unfair to sort of just say he's the next Khabib because he's Khabib's boy and he got Khabib in the corner and it's, a similarly dominant style of a guy from the same background and all that. His game's a little bit different, Luke, but I'm ready to embrace. As long as we realize it's not Khabib, I'm ready to embrace the idea that he's going to take what Khabib did and sort of carry that flag and try to keep that going. And from that standpoint, Luke, he is methodical as all hell. It may not be exciting for everybody. You may be able to pick apart certain moments or whatever, but he is a force to be reckoned with right now, Luke. And I feel like he is only going to continue to figure this game out and find those Khabib-led shortcuts. Khabib seems to be a great coach, and obviously Khabib had a mind that was just different for this game. It seems like Islam's picking up some of that secondhand smoke. So how high should we get, Luke? Check my THC levels, bro, okay? All right, I'm ready. Fill up the sink with water, cut off the top of a water container. I mean, get that whatever contraption you need, Luke. Let's get high, bro.
I'm high on him, but not quite as high as you. At least not yet. I'm
stoned immaculate, Luke, on this guy. Okay.
I certainly accept the possibility that. Listen. This guy is obviously either going to be a champion or he's going to fight for a title one day. I'd be very surprised if he's not.
Like real quick one day. It's coming, Luke. This guy's got it. He's got it, dude.
Yeah, hold on. But there are some meaningful differences from Khabib that I think folks should take into account. On the good side, I think his stand-up is just much smoother. He has much better understanding of position and range. He's very calm in there, no matter the on the ground or standing. But, you really can tell there's a certain fluidity to his stand-up that Khabib was a little bit more mechanical with. Okay. But there's a certain difference that Makhachev has relative to Khabib that needs to be underscored, which is to say, dude, Makhachev doesn't have nearly as much offensive output. He has a lot of grappling control. That's true. He's firing an underhook. He's got a body lock. He's working for positional advancement. Fine. But there's not a torrential ground and pound. He does tend to go to the back. You saw that a lot in this one. And he was very, very effective from there. But again, dude, he easily won this fight. This is not especially a difficult one to win for him. But I also, at the same time, part of the reason Khabib was able to elicit some of the responses from his opponents that he was able to elicit was because he had torrential ground and pound, because he was forcing them to turn their back. He was forcing them to make bad choices. Part of the reason why this fight didn't get stopped even earlier, it took him until the fourth round to do it, which is not some blemish on him, I'm just saying, is because he takes a lot of time to get to the places he's going to. It sounds like it's a knock. I'm just trying to say there's just a lot of talk around this guy about Khabib, and I understand that. Hell, Khabib was in the corner. They come from the same part of the world. They have similar styles. By the way, you did see that we previewed it on Friday talking about the clinch scenarios with a guy like Makhachev. That proved to be quite true and how strong he was in those positions. But at the same time, this is not the offensive juggernaut in that kind of way with strikes that a guy like Nurmagomedov is. He's going to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more methodical, and I still think he's capable, BC, of beating the very, very best. I think he will get to that point. But I got to say, not having that kind of ground and pound, not having that kind of almost hurried pace will result over time in some different outcomes along the way. That's all that I'm saying.
Let me give you a breathalyzer test and check my sobriety for a second. Just we're closer than you realize. I may have presented it wrong. I say, he's coming soon. Here's what I really mean and why I was so impressed. You're right. You sort of sobered us back down, and we're like, he's not going to be as dominant as Khabib at his best, and he may be challenged more and tested. And certainly, what I'm not trying to say is, look, when Khamzat Chimaev put those wins together, we had to quickly recalculate, like, how soon could this guy be ready tomorrow? Like, this guy's so good so early. We haven't seen him tested to see what his intangibles are and if there's a weakness there, but it was so overwhelmingly flashy and great that we were like, shiny new toy, I got to find out right now how it is. That guy, I'd be more willing to roll the dice and say, let's get him into a title shot situation. I'm not saying Islam Makhachev is ready tomorrow to win the lightweight championship or that you should favor him against anybody in that absolutely loaded top 5. What I'm saying, Luke, is I see the foundation and the structure that when you add the experience of each rung up the ladder, which he's going to have to prove it the hard way and climb these rungs up the ladder, I just think he's going to be ready for it. And again, even if that means he takes some shots here or is not as dominant with the opportunity here, I'm just seeing like a rock solid guy where it's like, oh, he's got what it takes. Let's wait and see. He's going to get there. But this guy's got what it takes to get there, Luke.
Yes, I think
there's a lot to be impressed. Seriously, look at the robot. There's a lot to be impressed here. This guy's ready.
Yes, I agree. He is a player right now in that division at the very top. Just to point out, though, some of the things I was mentioning earlier, if you look at the ground and pound numbers from Fight Metric from Islam Makhachev to Khabib, Khabib is literally more than 2 times per minute, than Makhachev is. I mean, he's double the speed. And, dude, when someone is putting that kind of heat on you, it tends to produce certain responses. Although, the flip side of that, BC, of course, is that if someone's just pouring that on you, there's a little bit less time for control. We know Khabib had really good control, but maybe he could play with that a little bit, where Makhachev just seems like a somewhat subdued version of Khabib. And I think if that's true, and again, he's got meaningful differences in other directions, but to the extent that he's a somewhat subdued version of him, then you're going to get somewhat subdued results over time, probably. But I agree, he has a complete game. This is the thing that we got to talk about too, BC. Dude, this guy takes almost no abuse. I mean, he is fresh as a daisy. He didn't have a mark on him when that fight was over. He found the back. He has good control. He has very good control. Once he gets there, he's got great takedowns, good timing. He's calm. I just want folks to know there are some differences, and they will play themselves out. But so he is a beast.
Although he's going to get the rub of the next Khabib and all that stuff we talked about, like the push, all the promotional push, the rub, the attention, all that, do you think he's more like an RDA with better wrestling? I mean, do you think he's more angled to be like he can still get there, he still can fight for a title and potentially win it, but like don't expect that just full-on ridiculous Khabib domination, technique, speed, finish mentality, all that on top of it?
He reminds me. This is a crude analogy, BC, but this is the best way I can explain it. Just imagine their ground games, not everything else, just the ground games. If Khabib is Kamaru, Islam is like Colby, where Colby does not do torrential ground and pound. He has high volume striking on his feet, yes, but on the ground, go back to the Robbie Lawler fight. It's a lot of control positions without a lot of, in his case, submission threats. Although this is the difference. Islam is a serious submission threat. I mean, that armbar he sat for was beautiful. Didn't have enough time to get it, but Jesus, that was really, really nice. So that's a little bit the difference to me, is that whereas Kamaru is just hammering you at all times when you're in a disadvantageous position, Colby is looking to maintain those positions through control. Islam's difference is that he is much more of a submission threat in that regard.
All right, Luke, you know what I do like about what him, look, this was a sort of a tryout for him in some ways, main event role. Let's see where his stamina is past 3 rounds. Let's see a lot of things. And I think we both agree that he passed the test with flying colors. I mean,
sure.
I do, to the points we've been saying, maybe think, when he gets into that top 5 elite, he's more apt to outlast these guys and win decisions than maybe potentially just dominate and finish them. We'll see how that plays out. But what I like what this win said, along with what it said about Makhachev, is what it's saying about, I think, the reloading in this lightweight division and how quick it's happening. I think that's important because, Luke, just a year ago, we were making claims like this is the deepest division in the sport's history, and the fights that came out of it are insanely exciting, and there's so many more matchups that we want to see. And then Michael Chandler dropped in the middle, and it's like, holy crap. But then we lost Khabib, And then both Conor and Tony Ferguson kind of look like they're going in the wrong direction. So it was like, is this division kind of falling apart right as it came together? No, dude. Between Brad Riddell, Islam, Arman Saryukian, like we're starting to see that turnover again, Luke, and it's pretty damn exciting.
No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. And I think, what a good next fight for Makhachev might be. The RDA fight, to me, seems to be the most sense. I don't know exactly where both competitors are for that. I don't know. He didn't like the Dan Hooker fight. I actually would have liked the Dan Hooker fight. I think it would have been kind of interesting to see, but he's not there. Do you have a preference? If it's not RDA, who you want to see Makhachev against next?
It's a great question, Luke. Considering that he's ranked, what, 9th right now?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. He is currently sitting at 9, Hooker at 8, RDA at 6.
You could, although it's a step backwards, I think the guys right after him in the rankings, Gregor Gillespie and Kevin Lee, are both very interesting fights. But you would like the RDA type from the standpoint of somebody who's more veteran but established to sort of give us a gauge of exactly where he is. Him against Tony Ferguson, Luke?
I got to tell you, who's sitting at number 7 is Conor McGregor. Dude, that's a terrible fight for McGregor.
Terrible fight. That's a terrible fight. Yeah. Do you think that's a terrible fight for Tony, too? Pretty terrible, right?
Yeah, it's a bad fight for Tony, too. At this stage, and here's why for Conor. Dude, Conor can light anyone up on the feet. I really believe that. I truly believe that. Whatever happened in this fight with Dustin, it happened. But on the feet, I still think he is extremely formidable, and I think his power carries at 155, and I think he could hurt a lot of people for as long as the fight standed. But you're talking about a guy in Islam who is strong in the clinch, who hardly ever gets tagged on the feet. Yes, the Adriano Martins fight is one thing, but that's a long way in the past. He is so different from that now, and since then, the numbers prove he barely gets touched. And then you have that kind of command over control positions, and you're that kind of a submission threat, especially from the back. Dude, that's a terrible fight. You can see why Ali Abdelaziz wants that fight for Makhachev so badly, because they won't make it. But obviously, a guy like Makhachev would, I think he would feast on this version of McGregor.
I found it, Luke. You know who the next opponent should be? Al Iaquinta. Raging Al. Give him Raging Al. We'll find out a lot.
I don't mind that fight, but here's the problem for Makhachev. He's sitting at 9. He might go up from here. He's looking for somebody ahead of him. The only names ahead of him are Poirier, Gaethje, Dariush, Chandler, Ferguson, Dos Anjos, McGregor, and Hooker. That's it.
I know Paul Felder just retired, but Paul Felder, if he was coming off a win in his late 30s, that'd be the perfect guy if he was ranked right in the middle of the top 10.
Totally.
That's who we need. And Iaquinta, even though he's coming off of 2 elite defeats, does sort of fit that mold.